he was in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
He was always a great supporter of myself becoming a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the greatest things in his life, and he was very proud of me. Matter of fact, when I passed the bar exam, which for a lawyer, I don't have to tell you this, I'm sure you can think of it. But basically, when I passed the bar exam,
Joe, take human
he
rights.
called me on
Just
the
to tell
phone.
you, right? Up in Ithaca, because you were up in Ithaca,
That's
right?
right.
And but the letter came to your Lynbrook address
Right,
Well, this
on
is
Winter Street.
right.
this is shocking news, and it's very sad news.
And not only that, but I also find out that he sold, and my mother sold our family, 42 Winter Street,
Yeah.
to one of our in-laws.
Yes, to your son Francis.
Right.
Isn't that nice? It's in the family.
Oh, yes, it is. And,
How many people get to go visit the house that they grew up in?
Right,
And you're lucky you get to go see the house. Hillary gets to go to your house where he grew up.
right.
I don't get to go to the house I grew up in. It's sold a long time ago.
You went
In
once.
Rosedale.
You went once like
42 Winter Street was sold to one of our
Children.
boys.
One of your boys.
To Hillary, that's right.
Fran
To Fran.
Fran. and Clem.
And to my, I should say brother, who is incidentally a great wrestling
Oh, yeah.
guy
Yeah.
at Cornell.
Mhm.
Not at the Cornell, one other,
Cortland.
Cortland. Thank you, Cortland State Teachers.
So is that why you're not in a mood to eat tonight, Dad? You don't seem to be in a mood to eat.
Well, I'm not. I would say it doesn't help, but I'm sure I'll have a raw broil.
Have a rub one. I can heat that up for you and put a little warm gravy
Well,
on it.
I appreciate
Okay,
it.
that's
yeah.
what I'll
Okay, you want her to heat
I'm
that
gonna
up?
heat
'Cause-
this up. It's delicious. And here, move in just a little bit. There.
Right.
Sit up just a bit.
Right.
You're a little far away.
Okay.
There you go.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
Right.
Let me just warm this up.
Okay.
And, keep drinking that. You had some rough news. You need to have a nice little drink there.
All
Mom,
right,
you gotta
I
get more of
appreciate
these.
it.
What, Tom?
Tom's
David,
a
come
little
over here now,
jello.
David.
Well,
There's no more.
my mother
But-
was a person a lot like you. She did everything in that Sarge family. Weren't out of people. She cooked everything. She did everything. She was always supportive. So losing my father and my mother has just, without any surprise,
Right.
I'm not talking about that. The problem was, I didn't know anything till this afternoon
Okay.
when we arrived home, several of us from Limbrook.
I'm sorry to hear this.
And so basically, I'm not going to say anything further because I appreciate your supper and the Rob Boy.
Oh,
Bob
good.
Roy.
Rob,
Rob
well,
Roy.
listen.
Yeah.
That's what we're all here, and I think we can all share because I loved Papa too. He was my grandfather, and I loved Grammy.
Right.
She was my grandmother, so I'm just as shocked and upset as you are, and I'm sure everyone in the house at your house, Damien and Jimmy and the boys.
Right.
And this is shocking news for all of us. So it's a terrible, tragedy.
Well, I appreciate that, and I thank you for your feelings. I just seem unbelievable that these things all occur
Right.
without any warning to me
Right.
or Betsy. I don't know. Matter of fact, I haven't spoken to Betsy yet, so
Okay.
I haven't. And because those 3 or 4 nuns that we have,
Yeah.
they all are at work and they all have very complicated things that they work on.
Situations.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Well, again, I've told you this before, and I'll tell you again. I know for a fact that just because Betsy's not here, it doesn't mean she doesn't love you.
Right.
Well,
Betsy has told me personally that she loves you very, very much.
Oh, he knows that she loves him.
No, well,
Oh, I know. It's nice to hear again.
well, I think he might be confused that since
Yes.
she's not here,
Right.
you're thinking that she may not love you anymore, correct?
well,
There you go,
Oh,
dear. Eat a little bit. That'll make you feel a little better.
I would not say that because the four girls, all being very religious people,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I spoke to Betsy this afternoon
Okay.
on the fact that I wanted to get my card straightened out
Okay.
with her, and she was very helpful. And but the amazing thing is, one would have thought somehow or other, from the time that all these things occurred, that a few of my very close relatives would have at least called me up or called the girls up. I didn't get any information from four of my daughters.
Well, they probably didn't know either. They probably didn't know either.
Well,
I think this is a shock for everybody.
yes. Well,
I mean,
but in any event, I spoke to her and she was very understanding and so forth.
mhm.
Still without any reaction about my father and their mother-in-law,
Their grandmother.
grandmother,
Right.
right.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody's in a state of shock then.
So in any event, it was quite a surprise and
Shocking day for you.
yes,
Well,
really.
please accept my deepest and most sincere condolences.
I certainly receive it. If you don't know something, you can't very well.
Right. Yeah, it's a shock for me, and
Basically,
he was a really wonderful grandfather to me, and Grammy was a really wonderful grandmother to me.
well, I
So-
certainly appreciate that, and
I share in your deep sorrow. I really do.
but in any event, that's a little bit of the reason that I've kind of slowed down today, because I've been talking to some of them in the living room. And,
Yeah, you don't seem like your usual self today.
Yeah, well,
You seem a little bit down.
well, I am, because I think that my part of the family just, I mean, it'd be different if we were in a nun world or something.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But
In a convent far away. Right?
yeah, I was trying to figure this thing out, what to say to you folks tonight. But I'm really just letting go some of my feelings to you as good friends of mine,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been surprised for some time that we all have done a little better. But my father was not one to complain to anybody,
Mm-hmm.
and as you pointed out, he was politically a top-notch person.
Right.
And the way he called me in
Yes.
Ithaca
Yep.
at this particular time,
Yes.
I always love him for it, because here he was to call his son, who he wanted to be a lawyer more than himself.
Yes.
It was, matter of fact, I always felt that when I was practicing law, that I was practicing his law.
Yeah.
Because he was a stinking guy. He was very he can argue you.
Well, I know that when he was in Congress, he always told you to become a lawyer
Oh yes, that's exactly right.
because he was surrounded by them.
That's right. That's
And he
exactly
didn't-
right.
Yep.
And I
Can I tell you a funny story about Frank that he told me one day? I'll have to show you.
okay.
Stand up for a second.
Okay.
So Frank your father, my grandfather, was in the halls of Congress,
Right?
and there was this big old Texan guy. That every time he shook Frank's hand, he would go like this. He would squeeze his hand so hard it would put Frank in pain. So one day, make believe you're the Texan guy. You're squeezing my hand. Frank goes like this. Yeah, and he karate chops the guy's arm like that. And the guy says, Frank, what's wrong with you? What are you doing? And Frank says, you know, Bill, every time I shake your hand, you squeeze it so darn hard, and that's the end of it.
He said that.
Papa told me the story.
No, he was a strong-willed guy. No
Oh,
question
yeah.
about that.
Funny.
Have a seat. Have a seat. I'm sorry. I just had to.
It's okay.
I had to do that demonstration. Pull on in, and I'll. There you go. Pull, one more shot. There you go.
All
Eat
right.
a little bit, Dad.
Yes,
Just
you
have
should eat some
something to
little-
eat, because if you're having a drink or two, you should always eat a little something.
But that's a true
Okay.
story. You know, Papa told me that story. He said that he karate chopped another guy's arm in the halls of Congress because he was always squeezing his hand too hard, and
Yeah.
and Papa said that was it. I had enough, and I karate chopped him. It sounds like Pop.
Yeah.
Well, you know, he was a very strong World War II veteran, and they don't fear anything. Those guys.
Right. Well, I'm glad that I had this opportunity to let you know.
Come here.
I'm just sorry that it had to be such a kind of an unway way of discussing something.
Yeah, well, it's never easy to talk about
No,
the
death
passing
is
of-
always
the
hard.
passing of a
Death
loved
of a
one.
loved one is the hardest thing.
Oh yeah.
You know, I lost my dad.
Well,
and
why
my
don't you,
mom,
Dad?
too.
Why don't you start eating a little bit? Because I don't want you to go home and on an empty stomach.
That's fine. I'm getting rid of some of the
sorrow and the grief.
Yeah.
Sorrow and yes, because it all happened so fast. We came home only around.
All right, well,
Today-
start eating because it's getting cold again now, and my
Okay.
wife's going to get angry with you.
Okay.
I am never angry.
She
with Dad.
spent a lot of time cooking up that meal from Boston Market.
Well,
It's not from Boston Market.
It's not.
No. Dad doesn't like Boston Market. That's what he told Richie Renz.
Oh. What would Richie Renz know?
Well, Richie knows a lot about food. That I know.
Well, he texted me all the places we should go down in Myrtle, and we never did.
Oh, no.
So he's going to be really angry.
You know Richie. When it comes to food, I trust him. We never went out once. And we were so busy cooking.
that was
My
amazing
mother's
that I really didn't know any of these things till we arrived this afternoon around. Oh, I don't know, 3 o'clock.
Well, there's no good way to receive that type of news, is
No.
there?
Yeah.
It's
David.
never an easy thing to
Come here
do
right
to
now.
share that kind of news with somebody.
Well, he was such a great person to me, particularly when he was a guy that called and said, "Son, I'm happy to tell you something
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna like to hear. You passed the bar today, boy. I'll tell you, that was my beginning."
Yes.
And,
that must have been a great moment for you
Yeah.
and for him and for Betsy.
Yes, to be able to deliver that news to your son is a big deal.
Who was a famous lawyer that ran for president? I think a really top-notch lawyer. Just can't think of his name for this man.
Barack Obama?
No.
Dad, there's some stuffing. That's cream spinach. You like cream spinach, right?
Right.
Okay.
Let's see. How about Bill Clinton?
All right. Now you're trying to upset the
No,
man's
not
dinner.
quite.
He's trying to enjoy his dinner.
Oh, listen, I figured I'd try to bring a little bit of levity to the situation.
Okay. Well, there's levity and then there's aggravation.
Try and remember that the lawyer I'm talking about, though. 'Cause
Okay.
my-
Let's
my-
think. A lawyer that became
President?
president.
No, he ran for
Oh, he
president.
ran, but he
He-
didn't
he
necessarily
was
win.
a very brilliant lawyer
Okay.
on the bar, and
Did you know him personally? Was he a friend of yours?
Honey, could you let me
No.
go out?
I had met him at
Oh.
Congress as a friend of Dad's.
Oh, okay. So it was a friend of your
Oh,
father.
Lyndon B. Johnson?
No,
Mhm. He never, did he run?
He
for
was a
president?
brilliant lawyer
He was named
in
president
New York
by
City,
Ford.
absolutely
Oh, in New York
brilliant.
City.